3,700 Metro grocery store workers were on strike for a third day after rejecting a collective bargaining deal last week. And for a closer look at the implications, we're joined in studio by employment lawyer Dan Lublin and partner at Whitten and Lublin. So, Dan, good morning, or afternoon now. Good afternoon, and thanks for coming in. So, first off, what are your thoughts, your initial thoughts on what's happening so far?
This is strategically advisable for the workers. I think this ends poorly for the grocery chain. These are people that can't even afford to probably even shop for most of the food at the stores, but I also think they'll have the public support. We've all seen rising cost of food. We are all hearing the stories about grocery retailers doing phenomenally well. And what's interesting here is that these are people, or the general public can go elsewhere to get their food. So that's going to put pressure on the Metro chain to make a deal or to get these people back to work, because they will be the losers here, and the grocery chain.
You know, what about people who are in similar situations and they kind of, worry about, well, can we just be phased out?
Union jobs can't just be phased out. Employers in that situation has to work with the union membership to make collective agreements and to make fair collective agreements.
Okay, and along those lines, there was an agreement that was with the union, but then the workers decided to reject that. So how does that all come together?
That's very unusual. So there's a bargaining committee on behalf of these workers who recommended a deal to the membership, to the bargaining unit. They thought about it and decided it wasn't a good enough deal, and there were probably good reasons for it, because I think if they push, they can get a better deal.
So could this sort of be the paradigm for the way that we see these negotiations working out in the future, where, there's an agreement by the union, and then the employers say, hey, no, we want something better?
The unionized workers have to vote, and there has to be a mandate for the union to be in a strike position. There has to be a majority vote. I think what you'll see is in certain industries, like grocery, where we've seen retailers doing so phenomenally well, there'll be pressure on the employers to put more money on the table. So I think you'll see more strikes of this nature. Okay,
so moving forward, how do you see this playing out? What kind of timeline? And could you maybe even give us an insight to what could possibly be going on, the conversations behind the scenes?
Yeah, I think I have a good sense of that. First of all, I think it's going to play out well for the workers. I think they're going to get more money, better terms, better working conditions, because there will be so much pressure on the grocery retailer to get them back to work, because the grocer is the only loser here. If you're a member of the public and you need food, you can go across the street to a competitor. That's a problem in this context of this negotiation. So I think that they'll either have a mediator come in and help them work out a deal, or the employer will come back with a better offer to get this settled.
And, looking ahead, looking at other industries, when talking about this, inflation, prices go up, but they rarely seem to come back down. And so we have to have a pendulum shift. Everything has to kind of balance out. Could we see this, things like this happening in other industries as we move forward?
If unions get a sense that striking produces better working conditions for their membership, you'll see more threat of strike. I'd like to say this is very specific to the industry. In this industry, I think it'll work out favorably for them.
What about those employees who are not unionized?
The pharmacy workers are apparently still working, which is important because they're providing what could be seen as an essential service in distributing drugs. But for the people, most of the bargaining unit are the frontline workers, and those are the people who run the stores.
And, again, bringing this all to an end, what sort of timeline do you anticipate something like this going? Because we're talking about 3 days. Again, the bigger picture is that the employees, they need better conditions. A lot of people, they can't go to these grocery stores, which they usually walk to.
We're just hearing about this strike in the last 48 hours, but this is a culmination of weeks and weeks of negotiations. I think it ends quickly because I think the employer can't withstand the stores being closed.
Employment lawyer Dan Lublin and partner at Whitten and Lublin, thank you very much for your time and insight this afternoon.
Thanks for having me.
I appreciate it.